All right. Oh, here we go. All
So
right.
we've
Ready
got
to go.
our all right. So we've got our server running here. I can see that in the terminal shell. So let's
Hmm.
let's go to open the console here and let's go ahead and log in. I remember that was our flow last time. I think it doesn't save for some reason. It's not saving your username there. It might be something you can change when you go to like manage my passwords.
Yeah, that is weird. Uh,
Yeah, because it should like pair them together, right? But
hmm All right. So logged in.
cool. All right. So we're logged in here then. And now again, like we fixed that, that rendering issue I remember yesterday, just really, by moving that button for,
Hmm.
in this case, dashboard, moving that into our is authenticated code block here.
Yeah.
So again, dashboard, we verified everything is okay here in terms of CRUD capabilities. But I remember that when we did sign out, before I click on it, I just want to verify here again. Nav bar is right here, so we should see our sign out button. Minimize this for now. And there's our sign out button over here. And we click on this one, sign out on click fires off. Let's find that function one more time. So sign in on click right over here. We log in with redirect, but we should see sign out. Let me see. Okay, sign out is sign
Yeah.
out on click. And
Hmm.
let's see here. So sign out on click, right? This is what we added last time, right? It was just this logout here and a
Yeah.
redirect to your main landing page. So um, the thing is though, you identified it's this one, right?
Correct.
Okay, so let's hop inside of here and let's maybe I can go ahead and minimize this. Oh, no, that takes me back to the main page. So let's stay over here. So let's see, we've got add-ons. I'm going to go ahead and slide this over.
Oh,
So
I didn't see that. My bad.
that's okay. So we got all this information here. Let's see application logo, application URLs. So, okay, we can see here allowed callback URLs, and also allowed logout URLs for redirecting users post logout. So let's go ahead and try this same address here. Let's save these changes. Now let's go back over to here and let's click on the button because again, this is going to fire off logout, return to, and everything else.
Hmm.
And there we go. All right. So in that
Okay.
case,
So,
yep, just updating that right there, adding it.
all right. Well, okay. That was easier, more simple than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Um, I think also the login, does it just need to say login? Needs to be sign up or login?
Oh yeah. Okay. So if we add another button
Or do
over
you,
here. Uh-huh.
yeah, or do you think another button would be better just to have this login and then a sign up next to the login?
I think
Or
I think it
what do you,
make the yeah, I think it would make the most sense for us to put something like again, let's see, log in. Here's our code for if you're not authenticated. We could just create
Mhm.
another button here that says, that it's going to sign up. But the reason why this errors out is because we're returning two elements here
Mhm.
from this ternary operator. So basically what I've got to do here, let's undo that. What I got to do here is add some sort of a parent level wrapper, but I can use a fragment like I did down here just to provide that parent level container. And so here's all of our code. Let's see if there's, it looks like I put it inside the button. So let's move this outside. All right. And let's get this back. So our button indented over here. And probably all this, we could just go ahead and indent back one
Okay.
or two even right there, just so it's the same level as our other buttons. So, so in this case, now if we refresh, we're going to see sign up appearing here, right?
Mhm.
In our navigation bar. So now sign up, that's got to go to a different location here, right?
Hmm.
We have a link going just to / here, but in this case, we're not going to do sign in on click. Let's say sign up on click. And this is going to be undefined. So I'm going to go ahead back up here. And let's go ahead and add const. I'll put it right up here next to sign in on click. Let's say const sign up on click. And in this case, we're not going to state login with redirect. Now, login with redirect, let's see where we're getting that one from. Okay, so this is another piece that we're going ahead here and taking out of useauth 0. Now, useauth O, I want to see if there is a piece that we can bring in here to use. So let's take a look over here. And let's also see, let's see the list of pieces we can use here, because we've got already login with, excuse me, let's see here, login with redirect. Let's see where we can find that with authentication required. There's a few different pieces here. Let me just double check on my end here. So again, in this case, we've basically got to go ahead and bring in this piece from useauth.
Yeah, because in the sign in, there's, if you go below it, there's a, not a member sign up. There's that option.
Oh, which line number?
Uh, can I show you on the app?
Mhm.
Okay. When you click log in, so you go here, don't have an
Ah,
account, sign up. So
oh,
that's what I was. So that's what I was wondering.
okay.
This should this say log in or sign up? This one button. That's what
Yeah,
I
we
was.
could do it that way. Yeah, that probably save us a little bit of work there, because it have you gone through that sign up form? Does it works properly?
Yeah, I mean, let me just go ahead and. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
type that.
let me go ahead and show you because it's because I go sign up and it does the
Mhm.
whole thing where it sends you an authentication email, stuff like that. All
Oh,
of that
great.
has been
Okay.
all of that has been taken care of.
Oh, okay, awesome. Awesome. So we don't have to generate any kind
Yeah,
of new form or anything like that. Okay, cool.
yeah. I just don't know how to get back to the. It's like you just click. Okay, so you just go back. I don't know if there's a button I can press to go back to uh the home page from there. But anyway,
Mhm.
yeah, that's all right. Yeah, it's back to you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think like we can always try to like customize that maybe a little bit later.
Hmm.
Because I know today we're going to spend some time just kind of polishing things off. And let's see. Let's save this one out. And there we go, log in or sign up. And so when they click on here, then they'll see those two options, right? Sorry,
Hmm.
just a moment, Matt. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm just gonna.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey, Matt.
Hmm.
All right, thank you. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries.
all right, so again, yeah, we've got these options here. Again, sign up is an option for the user. We could probably set up some redirects as well, like for that to make it a little bit smoother. But I just want to review, all of our like check boxes for this before we get to the more like refactoring or stylistic changes.
Yeah, and I can also show you on the coding temple website, the basically the checklist
Yeah.
for the capstone, because
Okay.
we've hit it all. It's just I can just show you, and then
Cool. Cool.
yeah. All right. Yeah. Ready when you are.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to show me those.
Oh, we can do that. We can do that after we get this part done.
Okay. Well, I mean, at this point, I think we're pretty much good here. I mean, if we, if we log in, we know that we're able to see different options appearing.
Hmm.
We've also verified the CRUD functionality for, for the contacts, right? For the contact form.
Hmm.
We can make updates to those, but let's go ahead and log in here and see, see some of the internal pages here.
Yeah. I don't know why it's. I'll have to.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just like some double verification stuff, just to be
Yeah,
sure.
it could be. It could be just for added security there.
Which I don't mind. It's just I've just never seen that before.
Yeah, it's tedious. Yeah. All right, let's move this down a little bit so we can get a view here. So, okay, so again, now we're only seeing sign out, which is what we want. We verified before. And we'll
Hmm.
verify again after we test a few things here that we're able to just get that redirect. So let's go to dashboard. Again, the delete, let's test an update option here. So if I click on one based on what we did last time, I should be able to go ahead and make that change. Go ahead and submit that change before going ahead and clicking X and seeing that change reflected immediately for us. Um,
Hmm.
the thing is that with that form, like one little change that we can make here to make it a little bit better is when we submit this form. Um, remember how we've got like in this submit, we've got two different. We have a conditional statement, I believe. So let's just verify here. Right, when we go ahead and submit this one, we get the query, we find the object. Okay, here it is. So all of this code here, right, is basically if we're submitting and creating a new record,
Hmm.
right, because of our condition we have here. If there's no selected item, then we just want to go ahead and go through the flow when we submit this, right, to add this record to the collection. Right over here, excuse me, right here. This is actually the state being updated, but the actual change that takes place is right here when we use add doc. Now the thing is, this is in a successful case, right? We have an error catching statement right here.
Hmm.
So if there are any problems with adding, we'll see that in the console. Over here, this is all the successful behaviors. And so what we want to state as well is instead of that console log, we should be able to do like a redirect, or we should be able to go ahead and toggle that open state to be something else. So what we can do then is contact form. I believe the flow we talked about last time was data table to modal to contact form. So there's basically like a flow between those components. Let's get rid of a few of these here now. Just gonna get rid of these just because it's sometimes it'll add files like at the very end and it's kind of hard to get around.
Hmm. Yeah.
Generally, yeah, when I'm working in VS Code, it's generally like a good practice to keep this as minimal as possible.
Okay.
Yeah, because the thing is that as we can see here, right, the tabs can quickly become like pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
And ideally we should be able to be like, okay, we've got maybe just two or three, maybe a maximum, basically everything we can really see before it starts to scroll over and we can't, see what's there anymore.
Hmm.
So again, good practice for us here is just to keep this as minimal as possible. Like we're thinking about the root app component. We're also thinking about the data table component. We're not thinking about input, but we're also thinking about modal at this point. And once I start working on something else, then I'll get rid of these and only keep open the tabs that I'm focused on. So in this case, again, we've got data table, which is managing the, let's see, contact data. We're not using it in this case. So we could probably go ahead and get rid of all this. So it's the actual like state itself of open here. And we can see this if I go over here, hop into components and take a look at data table. Let's see right over here. If we look at data table over here, the open state is currently false, but if we change this to true, we should be able to actually toggle it and change it. We can see that that determines like whether or not the modal is displaying. So all that I really need to do is pass set open. I need to make that this setter function available to the component where I'm actually going ahead and submitting this form. So we want to get set open down to, let's see our rendering down here. Let's pass set open to, let's see, data grid. We have that passed here. But again, we're dealing with data table and we've got, there's our modal. We've got the open state being passed here. We're doing on close, which is being passed to the modal. Let's go to the modal here. On close is being passed here. X is going to fire off on close when we click on the X, of course. But when we go ahead and click outside of it, or at the moment of form submission is really what when we want on close to fire off. So let's take this on click. Let's pass this as a prop. But what I want to say is in this case, really on submit for this one. Let's get rid of that. And let's say on submit is equal to props.close. Let's see here real quick on submit. So I've got to go ahead and let's verify here if it's not just the naming. I'm going to say here, let's say, handle close. Let's see, verify here. Okay, so that's fine for us here. It's just because over in contact form, we've got to indicate it as one of our declared props over here. So let's say selected item. And again, what I'm passing down here is handle close. So now in both cases where we submit the form, we want to fire off handle close, but only in the case where it's a successful, right? Where it's a successful submission, right? In this case, I'm going to say, all right, now we've confirmed with that console log that we have added that document. We're going to now just go ahead and close that. We also want to say over here, in the case where we get a successful document, right? We want to go ahead and we want to close the modal, but I want to perhaps do this after we update the state because I want us to, once the modal closes, I want us to see that state change already having taken place. So let's go ahead and try creating a new object. Let's do test 3. And I'm gonna, whoops. I could probably change the sensitivity of the modal there, but test 3 is what we want to use. So let's paste this throughout. Or actually, it looks like this is an update that's firing off. So let me go ahead and do new one here. Let's do test 3. Okay, so now again, when we submit, if it is successful, then we should see that we are redirected over to, or excuse me, not redirected. We really just close that modal with handle close. So let's click submit. Let's see if the state the state changed itself. Let's see handle close being passed down actually. So handle close is being passed down here in contact form. Props on close is being passed here to the modal. On close is being passed here as handle close. And handle close is right back here, which is going to set open to false and set the selected item back to an empty object. So this could have happened here because I hadn't refreshed the page, but let's go ahead and refresh back here. Let's refresh here. Let's try that one more time. I'm going to keep the console open because in this case, it looks like there may have been an issue with adding this new record. So let's take a look at the console. Okay, everything looks good. Let's go ahead and submit. See what happened over here. Where called with invalid data, unsupported field, value undefined. Okay, so let's see here. Function where. So let's see if we can find, in this case, where. Okay, so in this case, again, not handle delete that's firing off here. This would be, let's see. Okay, so where is over here, but we're not doing delete. So in this case, let's go ahead and check the model or the modal. Contact form, we've got some instances of where. And in this case, again, I think the issue was there that I clicked out and then refreshed the page. I think that it got a little bit confused in that case with selected item. So let me go ahead here. I'm going to refresh the page, totally new slate. Let's do test 3. Test 3, test 3, test 3, test 3, test 3. Let's go ahead and submit. Let's go ahead and hit X here. Let's refresh. Okay, so let's try that. Submit one more time. Do test 3, test 3, test 3, test 3, test 3. Submit. Let's take a look at in here. Invalid data. So in this case, again, we are adding a new record. So the other instance of where, it looks like is just up here in the import. So if where is the only function that's being called here, then in this case, selected object must not be null. Or selected item must not be null. Let me see here, because in this case, selected item is, let's see, right over here. Okay, so if selected item, and selected item is not a state that we have currently, it's something that's being passed here. Selected item is still being passed through here from the modal, and then through data table, we go ahead and we pass selected item. So selected item should be stored here on data table then. And let's see if selected item, it is currently empty in this case, that third state right there. So there is no selected item, in which case when we submit the form, selected item is currently an empty object. But I guess that's probably not the best way for us to store it then as an empty object. It seems like probably the best thing here would be null, because an empty object is still considered true. So it'd be something like this, right? Like if I say x, let x equal to an empty object, and then if I say x is equal to true, is that true? Right? False in this case, but let's go ahead and see. Okay, still false in this case. But let's say something like empty object equals true. See if we can do a comparison operator. So it's not allowing us to do a comparison operator here. But let's see if starting out with null is better for us, because an empty object could still be treated as a truthy value, which would mess up our logic over here in contact form at the moment of submission inside of our onSubmit function. Because it all hinges on the truthiness of select item, right? So looking here then, now it's null. So let's go ahead and click here. Okay, and let's verify. Let me go ahead and refresh. Let's check the console to see if there's an issue. Can I read properties of null name? So let's see, in this case, right. So if it's trying to pull, then there's another condition. Okay, let's go back to data table and let's change this back to an empty object, from null to an empty object. And let's go back over to contact form. And so let me see here how I can test for the emptiness of an object. Because we don't want to necessarily check whether or not it's true or false. What I want to check here is to see whether or not it is empty. So if selected item, in this case, I'm going to say is empty. So in other words, if that object is empty, and I can always go over here to console and test it out. So I can say let X equal an empty object. And let's drop in here is empty. And let's drop in selected item. Or excuse me, in this case, it would just be X. So if I hit enter here, is empty is not defined, but it should work within the constraints of our code here. But let me just verify here. Oh, we can also, okay, so this isn't our built-in method. Let me do this. Let's say if selected item dot keys dot length, in this case this would be adding an object. So this would be in the case where the length is equal to 0. So I can go ahead and try here as well. Let's try let X equal to an empty object. And I can say X dot keys dot length. And let's see if we can pull, in this case, we should be able to pull the, okay, so slightly different syntax. Let me do this. Object dot, and in this case, we're going to say object dot keys, and then we're going to drop in the object itself. So this is going to be selected item. Okay. So in this case, to test this out, doing object dot keys selected item dot length. In this case, it's going to be equal to not selected item. Let me change this to X within the constraints of our console here. So there we go. So we get that 0, right? So in other words, if it is empty, if there's no selected user, then we're going to go ahead and submit it. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and update. So let's try this again. Let's do, in this case, I'll type in test3. And let's copy this. Yeah, it's very sensitive there to any sort of clicks, I think, but let's go ahead and do this, and this. We'll go ahead and submit. And there we go. So it went ahead and it exited us out, right? And added the record. We can see it immediately appearing. And if I click on that newest record that we just updated, let's change this to like 345, submit. In this case, we're taken right back again as well. Okay.
All right. So the sensitivity, how exactly would you edit or alter the sensitivity on that?
Well, let's see. So if I click on the modal, that's not creating any issues. Obviously, if I click on the X, right, that's going to take us out. If I click here and then I click over here, it looks like it's like just if I click right outside of it.
Okay.
Right. So only if I really click over there is it going to take us out of the modal. Let me check something really quick as well. Let's see. Okay. So in this case, we've got we should have some function in here to handle the row click. But I believe that was passed over here in data table. Let's see, handle row click, right? We've got params that are being passed over here. We can also pass the event. And with the event, we should be able to prevent that like from selecting it. Now, like it's really only going to select it if we select the checkbox. But let's do something like this. Event.prevent. In this case, we're going to say prevent default. Which should go ahead and stop it from selecting that item. Let's go ahead and check here. Let me refresh the page. And let's click here. Let's click outside. Let's click over here. Let's click outside. Okay, so still selecting them. In terms of the modal, I think the best way to like reduce the sensitivity is maybe to say that like only if we submit or if we click on the X button is it gonna snap out. So
Okay.
before I take a look back at that row issue there, let me take a look here at this modal. Right, so we've got this div that says on click, it's going to fire off props on close. So if I remove this, it should remove that clicking outside the box issue that we had over there. Right, so now if I click out here, it doesn't exit out of the modal. Only if
Okay.
on the X, or if I click on the submit, is it going to get us out of here? So let's go ahead and see. That took a little bit of time, but it actually only closes the modal once the update is done. Right, so that takes a little bit of time sometimes to send over to Firebase and get a response, but the good thing is the user is only really going to see that change, after, right, that response has come back. So now I want to prevent the issue of this row being clicked, but what I just saw over here in contact form is when we click, I believe actually it was over in data table. When we click on any one of these rows, what I'm trying to do is prevent the default behavior, but let's see handle row click. Right, that's being passed down to on row click or passed down as on row click. But handle open is going to fire off. We set the selected item as well to params.row. But preventing this default behavior, let's see this implicitly has any type. So probably because we're working with TypeScripts, I'll need a slightly different format. Right, so in this case, our params are being passed through here. Let's go ahead and drop in this, just because with TypeScript, I'm going to indicate where we're going to drop this. I'm going to hover over it. Let's replace all of this with the code that I dropped here in the chat. Just a moment. Yeah, let's go ahead and replace that information there.
So just completely get rid of all of this, or
Just the word event, actually.
oh, okay. So
Just that word event that I highlighted there.
just and then
All right.
correct.
Yep, that should be good for us here now. So let's go ahead here again and I'm going to refresh and let's select this one here. Let's go ahead and close. Still selecting it here. Let's see if I click here and click X. Okay, still selecting it there. So let's see, the event itself is our mouse event, this click event that's taking place. And we want to, as we're doing here, prevent that default behavior, which would be selecting the row. Well, let's see. And row click should be firing off for us. Let me verify that this is, we click this one, row click fires off, shows us the object, shows us the selected item. Go ahead and exit out. Now, this shouldn't be affecting it, but let me go ahead and refresh. It's still probably going to go ahead and select the checkbox there, but okay, yep, let's go ahead and undo this then. I'm going to keep this as it was. So preventing the default behavior here, yeah, again, the default behavior as a result of that click event is not helping us. We've gone ahead and stated here, let's see, params row is coming through for us over here. Let's go ahead and change this to params. And I'm going to say grid row params. Let's also go to up here, material UI, our imports from X data grid. Let's say right here, one more import grid row params. So let's go back over here and let's refresh. And let's go over here and give this one more shot. Let's do a refresh. And let's click on the first one. Okay, let's go ahead and remove it. Still selecting that checkbox there. Let's see here. Let's try one more change here. Here, back. Let's get rid of this line here. Select it. Okay, so neither one of these approaches. Might have to go into the documentation for material UI to see here, but let's see. Let's see. So handle row click again is being passed over here to the row itself. And the data grid, we're passing rows per page, checkbox selection, true. We could just remove the checkbox selection altogether. And we could still, delete these in another way. Let's see if I do false. There we go, no more checkbox there. And so now at this point, there's no kind of issue with like updating multiple records because there's no possibility of that occurring, right? So if I go here now, what I can do as well is we could put delete buttons inside each of these rows, or when I click on one of the records, we could see update, submit, or just a delete button here as well, right? So they could delete or submit the update.
Okay.
You think that sounds good? Is that a good structure, you think, for your application? Like for
Or it, so like if you click on that, yeah, it's like, okay, just instead of, you know, I say, I don't want that, and just hit delete, right
right,
next to the submit button.
right, exactly. Because I was thinking like, because now when we click on that delete button up here, it can handle multiple delete, which is pretty cool, but the tricky thing here, again, we've got on row click and handle row click being passed down here. And we still want, when we click on that row, for it to go ahead and take us over here. But what we want to do now is take that delete button, and the delete button should actually be right over here. Let's see if I can find here. It actually should be right here. There we go. So this button then, let's go ahead and move all of this over to the component, the form, right? The contact form component. So if I go over to contact form, let's find the submit button, which should be right down here. And we could probably create another, let's see if we drop these buttons just like side by side, just to see how that formatting comes through. So I click here, takes us to an update. It's probably actually erroring out because there's a function here that doesn't exist at the level of this component. I don't even have to go in the console to see, right? But delete data, let's move that now. I just moved that from here, the delete button. Delete data. Let's see that entire function here. Okay, so delete data in this case fires off handle delete. But now what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, handle delete, let's pass that down. So I'm going to pass down handle delete to, let's see, here's our modal. So let's pass down handle delete, say handle delete. Now let's go to the modal. I've got to set handle delete here. And that's going to be a function that we're passing here. And now what I'm going to say is over here to the contact form, let's say handle delete. Let's say props dot handle delete. And now at contact form, we're not really accessing our props in the same way over here, I don't think. Let's see. Right here, we're not even like declaring the data types of those, like what we're doing over in modal and all that. So I mean, if we wanted to keep it more in keeping with our other code here, then I'd really want to do something like this, like create that props object again and specify what's being passed through here. So celestial object collection, let's see, selected item, open, I don't see being used in here. Selected item and handle delete is now what we're stating here. So now I can go ahead and pass handle close as well. And we'll state here that this is a function. So we can still use this syntax here to destructure the props object, but let's see how I can update this in the easiest fashion. So let's see over here again as well. Props is props over here. So then in that case, let's state here then that props is props in the same fashion, but we're going to have to update a few different lines of code in here. So I'm going to have to say celestial object collection. That's where we're going ahead here. Let's go ahead and state props dot celestial object collection. Let's also go to, let's minimize this so that it's the OBJ spelling here. So there's celestial object collection. There's celestial object collection as well. Let's do props. And here for set object collection, let's do props. Here, let's also do props. And let's see where else. Celestial object collection here, let's do props. And let's see here, props as well. And props here as well. So let's go ahead here. Let's refresh our page, open up our console. And let's refresh here just to see if there's any issues. So again, selecting this item here, we go ahead and click on it. Selected item is not defined in this case. Let's go ahead a little bit higher up here. So contact form, and let's see selected object or selected item. So I've got to change these ones to be props dot selected item now, and this one is also props dot selected item. Let's refresh here. Let's click on another one. And so let's see, it looks like there's other instances of selected items. So let's see where else it is. Right over here, this is a console log. But let's remove these. And register is also not being used here, so we can go ahead and remove this. And now it's going to be props dot selected name for each one of these. All right. So now let's refresh. Let's get a clean slate here. Let's click on one row. And handle submit in this case, let's see, handle submit. Right, this was actually the register that I had in here before. So let me go ahead and bring this back. I believe it was const and then register. And then also handle submits. And this was from whatever is generated. Let's see here. Server calls not use dispatch. I believe this was use store. So there we go. So that should have resolved that error there for us. And handle submit, let's go ahead and just verify that handle submit is being used here. And I can actually, let me verify with the GitHub, the last push that we had here just to get the exact syntax. So this will be contact form. I'm just looking on my end here real quick to see, see what I can dig up, just because I don't want to undo all those changes we made and lose all the work we just did right there. So I'm going to see. So this is our contact form. And this is, okay, so I just have the wrong thing here, not use store. This is actually use form. So now let's go ahead and refresh. And let's click on one of these. So now we got a different error here, delete data. So this should actually be delete data. Let's save that. Let's click here. And now let's find delete data. This is going to be props.delete data. So now if I click on one of these, there we go. It's loaded up for us. There's our delete button at the bottom. Now, when we go ahead and click on this button, what we want to do is we want to pull if selected item is inside of here, and we do have a selected item that we're going to be deleting, then this button, everything that we see here, if we format it in the same way, let's do delete that one. Let's do delete. And then let's put our button here. So again, in this case, we want this button to appear really in the case, right, where there is a selected item. We don't want this to appear, for example, when we're creating a new celestial object, right? Because it doesn't make sense for delete to appear there. So then what we'll say here is we can use a ternary operator here. I can say the same sort of conditional that we have up here in our handle submit. Let's go right up to the very top right here. And here's our conditional. If object keys is equal to 0. So in this case, I could say as our condition, if it is not equal to 0, then we could go ahead and render this button here. I'll put that right here. And let's move it here. Let's move the question mark here. Or we state like this. Nothing, right? We don't really want anything then to appear in this case. So I set a new celestial object. Let's go ahead and see here. Selected item is not defined. So let's see, in this case, it wouldn't be object.keys.select, it would be props.selected item here. So if we click on catalog new celestial object, we see here that it only says submit. But now if we go ahead and click on one of these here, we can see that that delete button, right, is also appearing.
Right. So
Huh?
sorry, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, it's okay. What were you gonna say?
So instead of saying submit on the update page, is there a way it can say update instead of submit?
Oh yeah, totally. Okay,
And
so
and just one more thing, let me show you really quickly. My contacts, I guess, needs to be changed, of course, to something like cataloged objects or something like that, maybe.
okay. So let's change that really quickly first. So again, over here, my contacts, you want to change to, let's see, right here, you wanted to change that to,
Yeah, just I don't know what would be cataloged objects, I guess that would be the best.
yeah, I think that would be cataloged objects would be good for us here. Is there a U before that? E? Not sure.
I'm a horrible speller.
Cataloged. Yeah, cataloged. Let me see. I want to check my spelling here. Objects.
That's at work when the kids say, "How do you spell this?" It's like, don't worry, I'm not going to grade that strictly on grade on spelling. I'm
Yeah.
not the best at spelling.
Yeah. So it is, I think it is just cataloged with a U. Yeah. So that'll be fine. Let's just say cataloged objects there. But um again, the other change here we were talking about was with the form. So let's say if
Excuse
there if it's not equal to 0, then we're going to be seeing something like delete or update,
me. Hmm.
right? So let's move this button. This is really only the only thing that's going to be appearing in the case where there is no selected item, right? So I'll go ahead and drop this in. Just that submit button is going to appear. But here we want really the same button as submit, but we want it to this back. But we want it create a container here. This. There we go. So again, it's gonna do the same thing as the submit button down here, right? Because it's still gonna fire off the submit for that function. Just all the logic we have for whether or not it's an update or if it's a right, if it's a post like creating a new record, that's all inside of our on submit here. So so now what we should be seeing is if I go to catalog new celestial object, we'll see submit. But if I go over to click on one of these, we'll see delete or submit. Let's go ahead and change what should be appearing here. Just got to rearrange a few things. So first of all, let's change this to be update. And then let's go ahead and move it before the delete, because I think it makes a little more sense just before that. All right. So let's get this back over here too. All right. So now if we click on one of these, we'll see what we would expect, update and delete appearing. We also, when we click on that delete button, we've got to pass through the information that's expected for delete data. So delete data is being passed all the way from here. And now handle delete. Let's get rid here of this one. And let's go to modal. Let's say handle delete. We'll pass it through as handle delete. Let's go to contact form. We're going to say props.delete data, but let's say handle delete. Let's change this to handle delete. And now let's look for delete data. Let's say props.handle delete. And when this fires off, again, we want to pass up the information that handle delete is expecting. And handle delete way up here is expecting us to pass in a document ID of a number. So what I can do then is I can go over here and say, okay, we're going to fire off props handle delete, but I want to say, let's parse the integer from props.selected item dot ID. And so let's see if parse int converts a string to an expected 0, but got 1. Let's see here if I have everything correct. Props.selected item dot ID in this case. And let's try in this case just passing an ID without any integer parsed from it. So let's go ahead here now. Click on one of these. Let's click on delete. Let's take a look. Document deleted successfully. Now let's go ahead and close. There's only 2 left. Okay. So in order to fix this rendering issue, we've seen that what we can do now is handle delete is going to fire off over here. Only once a document is successfully deleted, and after we've gone ahead and updated the list, do we want to go ahead and set, or we'll state in this case, let's say, yeah, handle close. So this is going to automatically close that modal when we submit, when we click on that delete button, right? Because handle close here is going to set is open to false, which is going to get rid of the, it's going to go ahead and get rid, right, of the, it's going to get rid of the modal. We set the selected item back to nothing, right, back to an empty object, which makes sense for us here because we're no longer selecting an item. So let's go ahead and try another one. Let's try testing Orion. I'm going to click on delete. We got a confirmation. There we go. We're taken back. And
oh yeah, go ahead and do that part really quick, and then
just going to do this to test out our flow all over again. So we click on submit. Let's verify that there were no issues here. Selected item is not defined. So in this case, if we go ahead and run through this code, we can see in line, we're hitting line 59. And in this case, line 59 should not be firing off for us, but let's see 21. That seems more like it. Let's see. Celestial object collection and all of this, but selected item. Let's see if there's an issue here with selected item. Set selected item, params row. Selected item, we set over here. We fire off handle close, which is going to set that selected item back to an empty object. But selected item should be understood for us over here. Let's see, when we submit the form and we go back through this flow and we submit, let's see, again, we submit here, and in this case, if object.keys selected item dot length, let's see how selected item is being passed here. So selected item, I can see, yes, we are passing through the props object. So I've got to update this one to say, instead of selected item, I need this to say props dot selected item. So let's go ahead and refresh here. I'm going to add another one. Let's do test 5. Hit submit. There we go. Test 5 is there. I click on test 5. Let's update it to test 6. Let's verify here. If there's another error, then see selected item. It looks like this is just another issue with selected item here. Let's see selected item. This is probably in the other. Yep, right over here. Props dot selected item. Let's also go here. props dot selected item. So let's see if there are any other instances here. Looks like we got them all. So let's go ahead here and let's click on update. There we go, that works. And now finally delete here. And that works too for us.
Right. Let me just show you really quick. I'm not trying to be nitpicky. It's just, what about the color differentiation? What do you think?
Yeah, totally. I noticed that one as well. Let's see how the buttons are being formatted down here. So we've got update and we've got delete. In this case, let's confirm all the class names are okay. So they are slightly different classes. What I can do is I can probably just more or less copy this whole class name and apply it. Like if we like I think just the black button, like what we see with delete, that's probably good for us to have across the board.
I agree.
Yeah, that'll be a pretty good style for us there. So let's grab last name here. Let's grab all this. We're going to want to keep it there. So I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to copy it. And let's replace the update button just to see, first of all, what that looks like for us. So let's replace right here. Okay, that looks better. And let's go back over. The other issue is it's a little bit, let's see, whoops, get rid of that syntax there. It's kind of a little bit strange here in terms of like the buttons are pretty far at the bottom there, but let me, let's check submit just to see what that one looks like. See what the issue is here.
Right. Just really quickly,
Mhm.
my screen's really zoomed in, so
Okay.
what you can see, I can't see. So
Oh, okay.
what do I do?
Yeah, so for that, try control and plus or minus next to your numbers on your keyboard, and that should zoom in or zoom out for you.
Okay, that's I need for the whole screen.
Mhm.
No. Uh
I'm gonna try on my end. Tell me whether or not to make it larger or smaller, okay?
yeah, because everything's really zoomed in.
Oh, okay.
Uh
Is this a little bit better?
it's just shifted to I can only see the VS Code now.
Oh, okay. How about now as I change this?
Uh I s- no, it's still all zoomed in. Can I just get uh maybe if I let's I'm trying to figure out what I can do to do this
Mhm.
here because I mean I can if I'm doing this, it's taking me all over.
Hmm.
Let me just do a stop share really quickly
Totally,
and
totally.
see what that does.
Okay.
Uh, okay. Control. Yeah, because a button came up called magnifier, and so it just really. Uh, there we go. Okay, now back to normal. So let me do a. All right. Can is everything back up?
Yep, I can see here.
Okay. Okay.
Cool. So again then, I'm gonna request control here and let's take a look. So last time there was that issue with trying to navigate. So let's try to click on here on this X. Let's refresh. Cool. All right. So again, we confirmed all these are working, but let's see those buttons one more time. Update and delete are there. If I click on catalog new celestial object, there's submit, so we can change submit as well to the same class styles we have right here. So let's go ahead to this button. And let's replace all this. All right. So now we'll see that this one is now black on gray. And when we go over to here, we see this is black on gray too. The modal, just one little like stylistic change I might make to this is, let's see, background gray, background opacity. We have fixed, width full, height full. So let's see, small moment here. Let's see here again. Alternative here for let's see. So again, H full. I want to see modal H full. And let's see what we can utilize here. So let's see, H full, okay. Did you say it was a Tailwind being used for this project?
Yes, I believe so, because that was the
Got it. Okay. So let's see H full here then. Let's try H screen just to see if that makes that modal a little bit easier for us to see here. So let's click here. Okay, so the height here is of the screen. Let's do a refresh though. Okay, no visible changes there. Let's go here and see. Okay, so we could make it. Okay, I see how they're saying here. Let's try HDVH. Still seems like it's pretty fixed in there. Let me see if I can identify in our elements here where this one is. So let's take a look and see. We've got our links up here. Got our body, div. Let's go over to, that's our header. So let's identify here. I'm not sure why it's showing errors here, but let's see if I, let's refresh here and let's see. Oh, okay, because it's the way in which we're loading up all this information here. So let's see. Got all of this information. This is our iframe width here. So it's probably because this is going through auth O that I'm not able to see this individual element here. But let me go ahead and remove this entirely. Let's exit out here. Let's refresh. Okay, so let's see. In this case, if I remove all these class names, I want to see if this is going to affect it. Okay, so we know that these are applying then. So I'll keep these in place. And currently we've got all these different styles applied, but let's save this out. Let's go back and click on it once more here. Let's click on catalog new celestial object. Now I'm going to say again here, H full. And there we go. We can see the styles kick in there. But again, I want to set this to be, let me see H full one more time here. H full is 100% of its parent as long as the parent has a defined height. So the parent of this element of modal, I believe this was back in data table, and modal is down here. Our parent element is actually this one right here. But since we're using a fragment, that actually isn't an element container at all. And so it probably goes back over to app.tsx, which is our main container, which contains our routes and the components themselves. And the routes themselves are located inside of auth provider. So what I could do instead of kind of working my way up here is I could take a look at this form, or excuse me, the modal. And I should be able to create maybe another div container wrapping all of this inside. So let's see if I take all this and I do div. Let's just make it a regular old container at this point. Let's go back over here. Let's refresh. Let's click. Okay, so we got a container around it now. And let's say class name equals, and let's say in this case, let's set a height. So let's say H75. Let's see over here now. Let's click. Okay, let's try changing this one to H75. Let's refresh. Let's click here. Okay, still kind of locking, overflowing here in this case. So let's try to get rid of this overflow of auto here, just to see that stylistic change. If there's no visible change, then that's okay. I can also see if this is our modal, we've got flex in place here. Let's say align middle, we do want, justify center, we do want. Background opacity. Let's try to remove Z1 in this case. But Z1 is what's going to offset it to give it that modal-like sort of feel. So what I'm going to state in this case then, so let's get rid of this parent. Actually, hold on a sec. Let me keep this parent container. But this parent container, according to their example, let's see. Div class H96. But I've got H-75 here now for this higher div. But let's try H0 just to see if this kicks in at all. Go back over to our page here. Let's refresh. Okay, so that H of 0 isn't kicking then in at all for us. Let's do H of 0 here. Okay, so any of these H's, H properties that I'm trying to drop in here don't appear to have any sort of visible change unless I H full here, which is going to go ahead and apply that style. So it actually could be one moment here because I think the issue is that this one container that we've got here, we got to go down a little bit more, like hone in a little bit more here. So we've got here this div, fixed flexed MT20. We've also got X over here, which is inside of this. Okay, so let's say H75. Here. let's say H full. No visible change there. Again, this div, we're saying max width 600 pixels, let's say 300 pixels. No visible change. Try 600, let's try 1000. Okay, no visible change. Let's try to remove one of these properties. Okay, visible change. So then in this case, it looks like this is our container. So let's say height 2, 5, the same sort of properties. Let's try that. Okay. Let's try now 3, 5, just to get a sense of how the system's working. Let's say 4, 5. Let's say 5, 5. Okay. So if this is keeping everything in place here, then the container itself, it appears as this one here, but it also appears that if I do H1 of 5, it doesn't respond to it at all, right? The actual contents there
Mhm.
do not react to our changing of styling here. So in that case, then let's remove fixed. And let's say height 2, 5. Okay, still fixed here. So that's just keeping that one box in place there. So H15 there is not going to modify. Let's try MT25, just to play with a few of these configurations. There we go. So 23, 22, 21. It could only go in multiples of 5. It appears it only goes in multiples of 5. Let's try 26. Yeah, it appears it's only in multiples of 5 here. Or only those two particular settings are going to work for us there. But this is definitely a little bit better. Let's see if we remove this entirely. If it just automatically snaps into place for us. Let's also say, let's see how I can find in here margin top. So let's see, margin we've got right here. So we are able to say in this case MT. So let's say margin top 5. There we go. So now if we click X here, we click here and it's all visible, nice and neat for us to see. We click here.
That does look better.
Yep. Yeah, now it's not being like cut off, at the bottom there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we could probably modify this as well. I mean, you could always go like MT, 10 right here. And that's just going to add a little bit more to the margin. Probably I should be able to do like, let's say MT8. Okay. So it does actually move it in like increments. It's just, I think we were just pushing too far before.
Okay.
But probably margin top 5 should be perfect. That looks pretty balanced.
Definitely.
Mhm. All right, cool. The nice thing as well is like, if we go through this whole process to add a new record, when I click submit, because of that dropping of the modal, it's really like it just drops us right back here and it looks nice and neat.
Yeah, it does. Looks great.
Yeah, it works for us here. So cool. So this definitely looks pretty good for us here. I want to see one more thing. If I select out, yeah, it still kind of keeps the last selected item, right? Like when I click, you'll still see the item that was selected, but that's not too big of a deal. Let's try deleting one of these just to make sure everything still works for us. Let's try updating one of these. Let's do ZZZ. Let's go ahead and update. Okay. one other change that I can see us using here is like maybe confirmations. Like if we once we go ahead and actually like, create this new object here and submit it. First of all, let's see
Hmm.
if there's okay, so it looks like I can actually create, right? Like empty items here. It looks like we've got two. Let's verify up in Firebase what we've got. Because we could add validations, right, to these inputs. So like we could basically say, hey, you have to add something before you submit something.
Oh yeah, that's definitely
Yeah, that's a pretty big one because the reason for those validations is because like if we don't, right, then we end up with it looks like, I was able to create a document, right, without any information.
hmm.
Um, but also, it looks like this record that has all this information, now it seems as though it's affecting, right, the rendering of the other record there.
Yeah.
So what I can do first of all, first and foremost, we don't even really have to like resolve, right, like why it's appearing there like that. What I can do is first of all, just remove that record that's causing problems. And let's go back over to here. And now we've got, right, our pure data back. But we should be able to say, for the contact form or whatever it is for any one of those inputs, we should be able to say, let's see where these inputs are being imported from. Input is from input. And let's check the input component here. I can see text field. And this is like all of these text fields. These like a text field is being created for each one of these inputs that we have here, right?
Hmm.
In this form. So we should be able to go ahead here and say text field is what we're getting from material UI. So let's say text field validation presence or something, right? Because we have to validate that there's actually the presence of something inside of those. So let's see how we can go ahead and do the validation here. There may be an answer in stack overflow. Let's see over here as well. ID, helper text placeholder. We could do placeholders on change. We are handling text change. We could also add and output errors. But let me quickly check on my end here. So there's got to be an easier. I'm seeing a few different solutions here for us, but um, it really should be as simple as us going ahead here and adding an additional property here to it. So it should be as easy as, let me see, each of these inputs. Let me verify here. Let's say something like input presence required attribute, right? This is like something that it's a pretty simple little attribute that we can add here. Basically, I should be able to say for an input that it is required. And if I add this property, let's see if it will fire off for at least one of these inputs. So let's say, here's our whole input. Let's drop it. Typically it's dropped right at the end. So I'm going to drop it right over here. And let's go back over to here. Let's refresh. And if I try to submit here, then we should see that one, right? In this case, yeah, it's prompting us, right, and saying that it is required. So right across the board, I can make these all required, first of all.
Okay.
And then that's basically going to say, obviously the user's gotta, right, enter some sort of value into there so that our data doesn't end up like corrupted like that, right? And then it creates all those rendering issues.
Hmm.
So looks like all of these are required now. So if I click on here on X, let's go ahead and try to submit first of all. Right, we've got a few different things here. Let's put test 3. Let's go ahead and try to submit again. Next input fires off. So it's auto-generating these suggestions here. And I can actually like remove these, but there is a validation that's coming up. Right, please fill out this field. Right, so behind these like suggestions just from what we typed in before, right? These validations.
Mhm.
So let's do tests. Let's move on to the next one. Test. On to the next one. Test. On to the next one. Test. The next one. Test. On to the next one. Test. And so in that case, we never end up with like corrupt data in our database.
Mhm.
Also, you know, if I excuse me, if I try to update a record, then it's not going to allow me to put an empty value here either.
Okay.
Right? So we're not going to be able to update our records with like faulty data like that either. I've got to put something in here, right? In order for
Mhm.
it to actually submit the form.
What happened to the Z's?
Let's see. Let's refresh and see if that's not a rendering issue here. And let's go back over to here. And let's refresh. Okay, so in this case, if we're submitting the form, it looks like it got a little bit confused in terms of which object to update, because I could see the flow there. Like I created a new object. What I
Mhm.
want to keep an eye on is that one state selected object, because that is what is creating some issues here for us. So let's go over to, I think it's over here at the level of data table. And let's see here. So there's no current selected object. I select this one object. We've got that one selected. Let's exit out. No more selected objects. Let's click this one. That's the selected one. Let's go back to create new celestial object. No selected object. Let's do XXXX or XYZ. Let's drop these in. And celestial object we can see is still empty there, which is good. Let's go ahead and drop all this in. Now I'm going to submit this. Let's submit. There's XYZ. Selected object. Let's take a look at that one more time. Data table selected object again is empty over here. But the problem was that I believe that, you know, we've still got this selected item, right, array over here that's, let's see here, because this is data table. Let me move this over a little bit. And let's take a look over at data table. I should probably be able to just open up this one. And let's do data table. So when we submit this form, if I do an update, or if I do, actually, let's go over here to contact form. If I do an update or a create, it's all coming down to, see here, just a moment. Okay, so this could have been the issue as well. My syntax here could be a problem. So let me try this then. Let's grab this. And we know that we're going to go ahead and expand this array. But what I could do is, let's say const celestial objects collection, we have that. But let's also say higher up in our scope, let's say const celestial object collection is equal to, and let's say props dot celestial object collection. And then let's go down to where we have the dot, 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 and let's just change that to dot, 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 celestial objects collection. And let's hover over this and see. Props dot set celestial object collection. We're going ahead and passing in again data with ID to add doc. And data with ID is right up here. So let's see, I'm going to go ahead and create, let's try to modify another one here. Let's say testing with 3Gs. Let's go ahead and update. Right. So, okay. So the issue here now, it looks like it's selected two of these, which I've gone ahead and undone with that one change there, with basically by going ahead and clicking on another row and then exiting out. So the issue here then, it looks like it's updating multiple items if those are previously selected. If I selected like two items, let's say
Oh, okay.
control click or something like that, right? Then it's yeah, like if I selected all three of these, then like let's say 1, 2, right? So it looks like it's defaulting to selecting both of these rows, probably because they are identical rows now inside of here. So let's see if I can, let's get this code back to what I had before, because that wasn't our issue. Let's see if I can go ahead here and change the IDs first of all. Let's see if changing the, because they probably have the same IDs here in the database. Yeah, we've got two IDs of 2. So let's change this one to an ID of 1. Let's update. Let's go back over here. And now I'll select these individually. It may have just been an issue from before, actually, from like all the testing we were doing. But let's go ahead and click update here now. Now just that one row is selected. So it's not selecting multiple rows anymore. That was, I believe that was just some faulty data that we had from before.
Okay.
That empty record created, but I could go ahead and just do, let's create one more record just to be certain here. Submit this. Okay, let's go ahead and select this one now. Yeah, so it still always just selects only one.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're good to go on that one.
All right. Let me go ahead and show you that little list they had just as a quick. Oh wow, it remembers the database I've done. That's how long I've used it. Uh,
Mhm.
so let's see. Let's go to my course. All right, come on. Thing. So let us. So yeah,
Yep.
final project. Let me see. Let me see if it's here. Okay, the materials, capstone requirement, and I believe we've gotten it all. Uses API, uses CRUD, authentication.
Mhm.
Uh, so this says Elephant SQL is what we use during, but you may choose any other database. So we already did that.
Mhm. Yeah, everything is
Sign
pretty
in,
Firebase.
yeah, sign in, sign out functionality, uh, pleasant looking UI. So yeah, it's done.
Cool. All right.
And how to present when finished, because again, I have to walk us through the app.
Mhm.
Uh, did you try to do something and fail? I got the videos. I can go through that and talk about, uh, getting the different stuff set up. But yeah, it's, everything's set up. Got
Okay.
the authentication, stuff like that. So
Cool.
yeah, it's So if I do like,
Mhm.
I oops. Oh, uh, nebula, constellation. I think you usually see it around October.
Okay.
Uh, did it in my hometown. Probably the only one doing that stargazing, but
You probably see it
uh,
out there. Yeah.
yeah, again, there's not much artificial light, so you can like,
Yeah.
especially on a clear day out in some of those fields. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
there's plenty of it.
Oh, I bet.
Uh, uh, I'll just do ancient, um, ancient Greek. I don't I don't
Yeah.
know who discovered it. I'd have to research that, but
Sure. Sure.
some ancient Greek dude. Submit.
And it'll
Uh,
be at the very bottom there, actually. Yeah.
mhm. So yeah, can delete it, update it. Uh, Testing 1, 2, 3. Update. Awesome. So I'm gonna be anything else we can cover because we still have
Yeah.
some times.
Totally. Totally.
With
Well, one thing I was just thinking of was adding potentially like confirmation messages to let them know, once they've like successfully, deleted something, once they've successfully, added something. Um, and the dashboard, what's appearing at the level of the dashboard is the data table over here. And that's where we see, catalog, new celestial object and everything. So if we can have something appear, right above the data grid, like maybe like right here, I'm just going to do a little do a little test here to see like where this would appear. So right there.
mhm.
We could have like announcements appear for us here. So let's see if I know you're using Tailwind. You're also using, I know, Material UI, but Material UI announcement, something like a pop-up that will appear for us. Alert. Yeah, alert is what'll work for us here. So this sort of like right, something that like appears for us, right?
Mhm.
So in this case, let's expand the code. Let's see again, this is going to be a TypeScript file, so want to make sure we follow that syntax. Let's go over to the top here and let's check our imports. So I'll put this right up near our model, or excuse me, material UI imports. I'll say import alerts from, and I can actually just go ahead and copy paste this. So I know we're in our last 20 minutes here. Let me go ahead and paste this in. So there's our alert and check icon. And we can also go ahead and take the same sort of flow here. So I could say, okay, let's export this default function of simple alert, and it's basically just a confirmation that's going to appear for us. So again, over here, data table is where we actually go ahead and handle all of our rendering. Let's grab this bit of code here. We're gonna just create like a little component on the fly, which is what we're doing with this little bit of code here. Um, it's telling us in this case, okay, a module cannot have multiple default exports. So let's go ahead and just set this as a basic function because we're going to use it within the context of this component.
All right.
And then simple alert, let's just see simple alert appear where I drop that paragraph element. So let's put right here, simple alert. Let's make it a self-closing element. And now let's go back over here and let's refresh. And let's check to see here. Node resolve import material check from data table. Let's see my import statements here. Okay, so it looks like there's a issue with syntax up here at the top. Let's take a closer look and see. So I am seeing our syntax here. We probably have got to wrap these in curly braces. I'm not sure why they have a TypeScript example where we're not doing that, but my first guess here would be, these are libraries that we're importing just individual pieces from. So it would make the most sense to me for us to go ahead and set things up that way. But let's go ahead and Control Z here. Okay, and let's again just confirm here that these two lines of code are in fact creating the issue for us. The issue is also that over here, simple alert is going to trigger some errors for us. So I'm pretty confident that it's those two lines of code that are giving us some issues here. So let's check all of our imports here. Let's also just double check our syntax here for function of simple alert, which returns all this information. Check icon as well. Now check icon we've imported from material UI icons check. Let's go ahead and check our imports for that, or excuse me, our installations for this. So let me just check this error message really quickly. Let's see. We're going to do npm installs for, this is material icons. And this is going to be, it's going to be check. Now alert in this case, though, we already have access to, but let's run an installation here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up our terminal here. Let's actually go ahead here and let's see, view terminal. Here, view terminal. All right, so in this case, let's go ahead and do Control C here. Let's do npm install. This is going to be at MUI /icons material. Let's run this installation here. Because again, it looks like it's breaking just at that point.
Okay.
So let's give this a moment here to install. And in the meantime, I'm just going to double check. Let's see here. Yeah, because once this is installed, pretty much all that I need to do is take that simple alert and render it further down in the JSX down here. And basically say, okay, like only in certain cases, right, do I want that alert to pop up. So
Okay.
there's a few different ways that we could do it here, but simple alert is just a basic little component that I'm exporting, and we could really only have it pop up in certain cases. Let's give this another moment here though. But as we're waiting for that to install, I'm just going to think of our conditional logic. So, okay, so it looks like we're good here. Let's go ahead and run this. Let's refresh. Okay, so there's our, we've run our installation and that works for us. There's the confirmation. But we want that confirmation, the actual message of it, to vary, right? So let's say something like const confirmation message. And let's say set confirmation message. And let's set that equal to initially, maybe just an empty string here. Now, confirmation message is what we can have appear down here, or excuse me, further up in our, in our function right here. But since it's outside of the scope, let me go ahead and move this inside. Although this may present some problems for us, so let's go ahead and move it into here. Right, so the issue here then is, let's see, expected comma in this case, right? So it looks like this const that I'm setting. Let's go ahead and first of all, let's remove this. Okay, so the issue is not that function itself. Let me go ahead and double check our code up here. Looks like there's just a comma that may have, let's verify whether or not this is in fact the line that is breaking our code. So let's go ahead and remove that. Let's save that out. Okay, so it's not the line of code that we just added. It may have just been a keystroke error here, but let's go ahead and move this back. Let's go back steps until we've identified that it still works here for us. Okay. So moving this function then inside of our data table function was not working for us here. Let's go ahead and set this up so that this can accept props. And let's say something like message. And message is what's going to be put into here. And the simple alert over here is going to be equal to the state that I just created. So let's go ahead over to here now and let's say message is equal to confirmation message, which in this case is just going to be empty at this point, right? So in this case, we can say something like, confirmation message is something that's going to be passed. So what I can say is something like, we can put our ternary operator here again. I can say something like confirmation. This is going to be our, again, ternary operator. So confirmation message dot length is not equal to 0. We'll have a question mark. If the confirmation message does in fact exist, then we're going to go ahead and render it inside of this simple alert. If not, then we're going to go ahead here and just say an empty React fragment. So now the confirmation message has a length that is not equal to, or excuse me, that is in fact equal to 0, right? So there's no message appearing now. But what I can say is this, I can say something like, okay, the modal, when we go ahead and, do anything here really, let's pass down set confirmation message. And let's say set confirmation message. We're passing this down to now the modal. In the modal, we can go up here and we can say, we can add set confirmation message as an additional prop here that we're adding. And we can also say that we want to pass this down to the contact form. So let's say set confirmation message is equal to props.set confirmation message. We pass that down to contact form. And at this level, at the level of contact form, let's go ahead and set up our props here again. I'll say set confirmation message. And that's going to be a function here, also of void. And now the contact form, when we go ahead and submit this, we can probably get rid of all this code here as well now. When we submit this, we basically want to go ahead and say, okay, in the case where we've gone ahead and added a new document. Let's go ahead and paste here props.set confirmation message. Let's set this to something like contact, or we could say here, object successfully added, right? And that's the message that we can pass in this case. So let's see here as well. Props.set confirmation message, that's a function that we're going ahead and passing in here. So again, because this is TypeScript, just a moment here. Let's see here. Now set confirmation message is passed over here. And this should probably be set confirmation message is defined right up here. All right, let's go ahead and try this. So again, if we're just creating a document here, that's what we're testing first. So let's go ahead and try here. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Submit. There we go. Object successfully added. So now what we can do is, I mean, if we click here now and we go back, it's still there, right? So we're gonna have to use this kind of selectively in other cases, right? Like, let's think about, when I click on one of these rows here and I open up the modal, or when I close the modal, then it really should go ahead and reset that state, right? So for example, handle open or handle close, I could do it at either one of those. But let's change it at the level of handle open. So let's say set confirmation message. In this case, let's go ahead, excuse me, and let's drop this here. So now when we go ahead and open up a modal and close it, we see that it's gone, right? So again, I'm going to go ahead and state here, let's say 999. So let's go ahead and submit this. We see that message appearing here for us. We click here, go back, and it's gone. We also want the information to be added here. But let's do this down in the section where we actually go ahead and update it, right? Let's go ahead and state here. We could do it really at any level, but I would actually do it probably after handle close, because handle close or handle open, actually handle open is what's going to be changing the state back to an empty string, the confirmation message. So handle close should be fine for us. Let's go ahead here. Should be able to add it right here, just before the handle close. So I'll drop it in here, props set confirmation message. We're going to say here, object successfully updated, right? So now let's test one more time here. I'll say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And let's submit. There's our confirmation, object successfully added. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, update, object successfully updated. Now it's changing, right? And once we go ahead and click on delete now, which we have as another function, I believe up here at the level of data table, handle delete. Once we have the object, the document, excuse me, deleted successfully, we can do the same thing over here. It's just that now it's not being passed through props, so I should be able to just say set confirmation message to document deleted successfully. And that just adds like a nice kind of touch to it, because it just clues in the user as to what's going on. So now we see whenever we open or close a modal, it's gonna remove the confirmation message that was there. Let's do 5. Let's update. Object successfully updated. Let's do one more time here. Just something to test out that it's still differentiating between them. And let's submit. Object successfully added, right? Or we could even go a little bit further. I like the word created. So let's go ahead and say created here. And now again, when we do handle delete, which is right over here, we're going to say document deleted successfully. So let's refresh here. Let's refresh here. And let's go ahead and delete this one. Document deleted successfully. Right, so I could say, instead of document, maybe we could say object. And over here in contact form, we could say object successfully created and object successfully updated as well. And that's going to be fine for us.
All right. Awesome. Thanks for the, oh,
Yeah, it's okay. I'm just updating some quotes here, but
thanks for the extra touch.
yeah.
So I guess we just need to get this put on the GitHub, and then that'll be a wrap.
Gotcha. All right. So let's push up those changes. You don't have to have this deployed though, right?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna have to show them. I just want to have it on there just in case, but I'm gonna have to show them. I have to activate it, show them the pages, stuff like that.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, I'll go ahead here and I just did git add dot. So all of our changes are added here. And let's finalize this. Let's say something like finalize CRUD. Let's say here actually finalize UI flow for celestial object CRUD slash, and we could say in this case, yeah, I'll just go ahead and state that because that's really all that we focused on was the UI flow here for celestial object CRUD, and also I believe it was for user authentication. Or I'll state here more specifically, log out, log in. So that should be good. And now I'm going to go ahead and do git push. And we should see all those changes live right up here, which we control click on it. I'm not sure if that's going to open. That might open an edge actually. But
Yeah, it's an edge.
okay.
I'll go to GitHub really quickly. Then dashboard. Oh, wrong. Your repositories. Yep, updated just now.
Cool. All right. Perfect.
All right.
So we're
So,
good.
yeah, definitely. First of all, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Been a interesting adventure. It's you really helped me out because,
Yeah.
like I said, you put it in English where I can understand. Sometimes in these other schools, they just put it. I think sometimes they forget that they're speaking almost a different language, and you're able to really get it to layman's terms.
Cool.
Uh,
Glad to hear. Yeah,
and
I get a little lost sometimes in actually solving the problem. So sometimes I have a little trouble verbalizing what's going on. But yeah.
yeah, and I will get this submitted, and I'll keep you up to date about what they have to say. And if we have to, we'll just have a quick update meeting and stuff like that.
Cool, cool. So I just want to confirm, just because next week's coming up. So you don't want to meet next week? You're not predicting that you'll need to
I'm not predicting, but
okay.
again, there could always be they could always say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. So as of now, no, but I'll keep you up to date.
Cool. Cool, man. Yeah, let me know. I'll still, continue to be available at those times that we talked about. But yeah, man, it's been great working with you, and I hope to work with you again soon.
Definitely. I'll refer you to anyone who's
Oh,
doing this
cool.
stuff as well,
Thank you,
because
man. I
I,
definitely.
I well, I know a few people who are interested in coding, and so I know that it's like, oh, well, I have this tutor, can put it plain English. It's, really, makes it, makes it to where you can actually records it to where you can understand it and stuff like that. No,
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I would definitely appreciate that. Any recommendations, anything like that, I definitely appreciate. Thank you.
definitely. Yeah, we'll stay in touch.
All right, man. Yeah, let me know if you need any help at all, and I'll have this video up in that same playlist, okay?
Sounds fantastic.
All right. Take care, Matt.
Have a
And
same.
yeah.
Yeah, have a good evening.
All right. Thank you. Good luck with everything, all right?
Appreciate it. Same to you.
All right, man. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.